Hello, and thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Behind the GAVL podcast, a legal marketing podcast serving law firms across the country. I'm your host, Ryan Raplee, CEO and co-founder of GAVL. Today is going to be a very special episode. Well, I mean, they're all special, but this is also another special episode. I think this is episode 15, so we'll keep this will be the 15th special episode. Today we're joined by Tracee Wagner, settlement consultant at Forge Consulting. Tracee has more than 20 years of experience working with law firms and their clients, helping guide individuals through important financial decisions after settlement. In today's conversation, we'll get to know Tracee, learn more about her work in settlement planning, and explore how financial education can help attorneys continue supporting clients long after a case is resolved. Now, I've known Tracee for several years. In our little behind the scenes chat pre-podcast record, we just found out this will be her 50th convention, AAJ convention. That is absolutely wild. So I'd like to hear a little bit more about that too in the podcast. So Oscar, let's bring in our guest. Tracee, welcome to the show. Excited to have you today. Appreciate you being here.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. Hopefully this podcast will probably come out on a Wednesday, but when people listen to it, let's give them a happy Friday on a hump day.
A happy Friday on a hump day to everyone who's going to listen.
I love it. For those who don't know who you are, tell us a little bit about you, your background, and then what led you to Forge Consulting. You've been in this industry for decades now. We just talked about that. You know, you're going into your 50th AAJ convention. I mean, absolutely wild. So yeah, let's just hear a little bit about you, yourself, your background, and what led you to Forge.
Awesome. So I grew up in the Washington, D.C. area. I decided I really did not like cold weather. So I exclusively searched for colleges in the Southeast where it might be warm and there may be a palm tree or two. I landed on the University of Florida, where I pursued a technology degree, actually, thinking I would go into big tech via the School of Business. And so as I was navigating my job search, 9/11 happened, and a lot of the very big agencies at the time were sort of on a hiring freeze, but I was still hell-bent to graduate with a job. So
A good goal to have. Anyone graduating, it's good to have a job.
It was. And I was very adamant about not moving back to the Northeast, but rather staying in my palm tree world. And so I sort of exclusively had a search for a job in the Miami area. So while I was pursuing my hopes and dreams of, a big, huge corporation and sort of climbing the corporate ladder, I stumbled upon a small software company in Miami. I went to interview, not knowing it was a software company that was a product designed for plaintiff trial lawyers, an organizational tool, case management software, which at the time, there were very few products on the market,
Sure.
Unlike today, where our market is sort of inundated with all kinds of different solutions for trial lawyers. But at the time, and this was, client server, you actually installed a software program onto the computer.
Yeah.
For the children these days, they have no idea what that means. But anyway, so I interviewed with this small case management software in Miami. I did not know what a plaintiff or a defendant was, but I needed a job. I was very quickly hired and I jumped into my first AAJ conference, once again, not knowing what a plaintiff or a defendant even was, but I was going to be in charge of assisting lawyers, of being very organized and handling their cases. And so my first AAJ conference was in Atlanta. I quickly got up to speed with what a plaintiff and a defendant was. And I traveled the country, visiting law firms, educating them on ways that they can get more organized and efficient utilizing our software package. It was a very small company at the time, and I had enormous autonomy. And I love the creative aspect of walking into a law firm, having them tell me what their pain points were with regard to handling their cases, and running back to programming and having them address as via an upgrade, various features and functions that would assist with said pain points. So it was a really awesome beginning to my career in the legal industry. With regard to the autonomy, being in sales, I sort of threw spaghetti against a wall with regard to state organizations, topic specific organizations that were litigation oriented and more specifically plaintiffs, personal injury, lawyer oriented. And so that's how I began my career in the legal space. And as you meet all kinds of vendor buddies along the way,
Oh
and
yeah.
you start to identify all of the aspects of um, products and services that our clients need. And so it certainly opened up my eyes to, sort of every component of a litigation from, intake to when a check was cut to the client. Um,
How
Back
long
in
did that take you to really kind of
master.
master, yeah, like understand, like, hey, I know from early on you must have been confident selling the product. It was a great product at the time, still is a great product. But how long was it before you were really comfortable, like just engaging with the attorneys? I know it took me a little while, a couple of years before I was, kind of relaxed and calm, but you're more, I mean, you're a very natural salesperson,
Yeah.
very natural at building and fostering relationships and just kind of getting to know everyone, remembering names and all that. But how long was it before you were really comfortable? Because you're right out of college, essentially.
Yeah. And I think for me, I think different kinds of personalities, it was this is an innate sort of talent of mine to be able to be outgoing and personable. But I think that what was interesting to me was certainly learning the ins and outs of a litigation, and certainly that's evolved substantially over time. I
Sure.
mean, at the time there was no electronic filing or anything electronic for that matter, and so certainly we've seen. That the handling of a file certainly evolve over time as technology has evolved. And I think what I loved about it so much was being constantly present in that process. And I also really enjoyed being able to meet different types of people in different jurisdictions and different parts of this country and be able to resonate with them also. Frankly, whether it meant talking faster or slower, or certainly diving into the aspects of that particular type of litigation. So actually, at the time, we really kind of recognized a pleading is a pleading, a letter is a letter, a picture is a picture. And so I actually decided one day to encourage programming to flip our screens and actually started selling to some defense firms because, hey, they're tracking the same
Sure.
documents that the plaintiffs firms are as well. So for me, it allowed me to encapsulate the entire market at the time with that particular product. Um, and so when it became time for me to sort of explore an additional chapter or to start a next chapter in my career, I really thought I would stay in tech. In fact, I certainly began my search with deciding, okay, because I have a background in software sales at this point, maybe I'll jump into a Salesforce or something
Sure.
along those lines, sort of that would be the next chapter of a software career. And it kind of, the light bulb kind of went off. I have, 18 plus years of plaintiff's trial lawyers in my phone. I should stay in legal.
Yeah,
And
that's
so
wild. Sure.
yeah, and so I was like, "That's invaluable,"
Yep.
I mean, at the end of the day, if I change to a different job, they're still gonna take my phone call because 'cause we're friends. I
Yep.
may not sell them with whatever I'm doing next right away, but they'll take my phone call, they'll have lunch with me, they'll have coffee with me. So I kind of decided, "Okay, let me go back to the plaintiff's personal injury space and identify my next chapter there." And it was at that point where I decided, "You know what? I knew every single step of the way from the sign up of a case to this cutting of the check. But you know what I never did? I never met the client, the name on the file, right?
Sure.
And so I knew Corey and Spooner, who had started Forge. I knew them my whole career. We were vendor buddies. We had our little tables next to each other at every seminar across the country. So I said, talk to me. Tell me a little bit about what you do because I didn't know. I mean, I knew what a structure was, but I didn't
Sure.
really know.
Yep.
And it was an opportunity that I decided to take, and it was very much a learning curve for me. I had a tech degree, and certainly that was the world I knew. And now I have financial licensing, and I very much had to understand, you know, the various components of what a client needs with regard to a resource and how to navigate what a dollar amount or a settlement amount looks like. And
Sure.
so it took me a second to get up to speed, just like everything else. But I really love what I do, and I really love that I'm able to sort of complete the circle of my career with regard to understanding the time and energy and grit that our lawyers put into representing their clients. So it's a wonderful feeling to know that we're the baton that the lawyers pass to,
That's
say,
really
hey,
cool. Yeah.
you now take on the challenge of ensuring that this client is confident and happy and able to start their next chapter.
That's awesome. Had a great conversation with Rick a couple weeks ago.
I
And,
heard.
a lot of that is, really taking care of this client who just went through hell, essentially, and
Absolutely.
now they get this big sum of money. And it's
What
like,
does that
what do
mean?
I do with that?
Right.
How do I navigate that? I mean, that seems so scary to me. Even if like one day I just won the lottery and I'm like, what do I do? Because you
Absolutely.
hear so many of those horror stories where like 3 months later, all their money's gone and they're bankrupt again. And it's like with your expertise in Forge, and I think that's why Forge has been so successful all these years and has grown so much, is because you do it the right way.
Yep.
Everyone I've ever talked to in this industry has had no negative comments on Forge, just always the best. Yep, and you that translates through because a lot of the folks listening to this and a lot of the folks we work with are the upper echelon attorneys
Absolutely.
who have this their reputation is everything. To then
Absolutely.
put that trust into Forge and into some of these other companies, it speaks volumes of why you are still here. I mean, you have seen since early, you've been in this early, seeing all of these vendors come and go, come and go, come and go. But there's a few of us now. We just turned 10. I think Forge is now,
I'm
I don't know,
25.
25, a long
Yep.
time. There's not many vendors
Nope.
who have been in this space for as long as we have, which is kind of crazy to think about.
It's a wonderful feeling and a wonderful compliment. And to your point, we're clearly doing something right, and it's a core value of ours. But back to what you suggested, not only is it completely and utterly overwhelming, but most of the time, our clients aren't going out and talking about their active lawsuit. One, they can't, and two, they don't want to. It's very private.
Sure. Yep.
So in addition to the uncertainty that they've lived in for what could be years, these complex cases can be 3, 4, 5, 6 years until they see a resolution. So living in that place of uncertainty, and then now just having a number presented to them, what
Yep.
does that mean? And oh, by the way, do you know that statistically almost half of this country is financially illiterate?
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
We don't do a very good job of educating people in this country. So when they see this dollar amount, they're terrified. They don't understand what it means. So for us, it's imperative that not only do we come to the table with a level of empathy and patience, but truly to be a resource for them from an educational standpoint. And the way that we sort of tackle that is there's two components to, how to spend money. The emotional side, which frankly is really what leads most people, and
That's
that
my favorite side.
well,
Yeah.
but it's a big deal because,
Yeah.
will I be able to pay off the debts that are weighing on me? Will
Yep.
I be able to
Yep.
own a home, buy a vehicle, send my kids off to a better life than I had? And the technical side, I need an estate plan, I need a will, I need an investment strategy. How am I going to make this money last? What am I going to do with taxes? Those are the kinds of
Yep.
things no one has any idea, and they don't really think about, but they're really necessary.
And your local CPA probably doesn't understand a lot of this either because it is so complex, such high dollars sometimes. And that's why you
Well,
need the expertise of someone who just does this.
Yeah, nor does the local financial advisor who's used to, when they see large dollar amounts, generally they're because of high earners. They don't recognize one, how the money came about, and certainly the tragedy generally behind it. But two, the fact that this is it. And our clients don't have a threshold for risk. And so for us, it's really sort of meeting them, peeling the onion, getting them to identify their goals, their sort of post litigation goals. And all of those things become pieces of a puzzle that we help them to put together. So as we start to say, okay, utilizing this financial vehicle or that financial vehicle, we can accomplish this goal and that goal. And we start to put the pieces of the puzzle together. And you can literally see their body language change as they can see the kind of final picture of the puzzle, and they get a sense of, oh my gosh, I'm going to be okay. I can do this.
Yeah, and it's so important.
It really
What
is. Because that's the time, by the way, when if there is a number on the table, they say, okay, let's do this. And they call their lawyer, get a release ready. I'm done.
that leads me into a question. What point in a case should an attorney reach out to Forge and at least start the conversation of, hey, I have this case. We've been going at this for a couple of years. I think we're really close to something. How is it ever too early to start consulting, or like where's the sweet spot?
I think the sweet spot is when there is an opportunity to begin settlement conversations, whatever that may look like. And you probably know that the first mediation is not necessarily going to get it done. The
Yep.
first mediation that might actually trigger the process of discovery and depositions and things of that nature. So, but for us, it's never too early, because the more that we can get the client to truly think about all those pieces of the puzzle early, they have the ability to be part of the process in a much more educated way, so that when numbers are sort of starting to become or appear to be a bit more concrete, they actually recognize what that looks like to them. So I love when a lawyer brings us in early. Not only can we start the conversation with the client, but we can also be a resource for them for other things because of our vast network of vendor buddies, whether it be, a lien that they're having a really hard time negotiating on their own, or helping them to find, another expert in the field that they're having trouble with, or working on probate issues. So often they stay in their lane, and so when there's a necessity for a trust to be drafted, they don't necessarily know what lawyer to contact, whereas we do, because we work on a national level and we have counsel that we rely on who knows how to draft documents for special needs trust, which is a unique type of product that most, estate lawyers don't necessarily, it's not necessarily in their wheelhouse. So I
Sure.
think we bring vast resources to the table early on, even if it's not necessarily working directly with the client just yet.
I love that. You answered so many questions already that I was planning on asking.
Oh, well,
Um,
good, I guess, right?
yeah. Yeah. No, it's I could tell you have really built a strong passion for this and for what you do. And you don't seem to be the type of person who's just gonna, bullshit their way along and do. You really got into this hardcore.
Thank
You
you.
care about the clients, you care
I do.
about the people. I think that, I mean, it's really so important. It
I think
really
it
is.
is, as I said, they've just gone through so much. They've gone through so much. And most of our clients really are just so appreciative. They're so appreciative that someone cares as much as we do. And I am fortunate because I really do love what I do, and I'm actually a really bad liar, and I'm really bad at hiding hiding my distaste. So I like being able to be happy and smile and really care. It's
Yeah.
important to see the hard work of these lawyers that take on the big guy, that really believe in in making their clients wrong right. And so it's nice to be able to share in that with our lawyers.
I love that. What do you think is the biggest financial challenge that a client is going to face after receiving a settlement or a verdict, whatever it is, receiving that large sum? What's the biggest financial challenge?
I think making sure that they sort of comprehend how far or how little the money can go. And I see the gamut. I see terrible catastrophic injuries with a very small recovery and enormous recoveries for people who potentially could have a second career. And so I don't know that it's really the client. I have some clients who I sit down with and they're deer in headlights and they're just looking for guidance, and they take and they truly do take the time to be educated. And I have other clients that sit down with me, that like, I want to do this, and this, and they've already spent every dollar. To each their own, everyone's different, but I think that the biggest challenge is making sure that what their goals are can be reached, or that you remanage their expectations.
Yeah,
You're
that's
just not going to be able to do all of this. You're not going to be able to, and just helping them to get there, helping them to understand, as I said, half of this country doesn't understand. So when you start talking about numbers, they don't understand, which is why it is so valuable to really take them through the process of identifying and really peeling the onion, so to speak. Sometimes people don't think about whether they need that new car, or, whatever. The ones who and also, there's so many emotions that go into this. Uh, a lot of times, wrongful death cases, for example, you know, living in the litigation kept the person alive. Now it's done. It's done. They're
yeah,
not coming back.
yeah,
So how do we live life now without that person? So
yeah.
there's a lot of emotion that goes into it, and it's frankly, half of it's managing the emotion.
That's
I mean, it's hard for us to grasp, but intellectually it does make sense that you hold on to that person because it was something that, help kept them alive
sure.
to you, kind of thing.
Beyond structured settlements, talk about just the various types, because there's a lot of different companies under the Forge umbrella. Just
Yep.
give me a run through of what those are. What are the different, because it's more than just structured settlements. It's like, what else do you guys do?
We're 4 different companies under one umbrella, and we have to be for different regulatory
Okay.
reasons. So we started off with this, with Structures, sort of the insurance agency. Structures were developed by Congress back in 1982, when Congress decided that for physical harm, which is the tax code associated to personal injury cases, they were going to allow for the recovery to be totally tax free to the recipient. They took it a step further and introduced Structures, and this was all done, by Congress in 1982 under a Periodic Payment Act. And frankly, they did it for selfish reasons, to ensure that those who could not go back to work, the recovery they attained from a lawsuit was going to last by enabling them to have periodic payments plus the interest that was earned. A structured settlement annuity is essentially the opposite of a mortgage. So if you think about a mortgage, you find a house you love, you go to the bank, I'd like to borrow money, no problem, but here's an interest rate. So every payment that you make on a mortgage is principal plus interest back to the bank.
Sure.
This is exactly the same with a structure. With a structure, we identify some of the recovery or all of the recovery potentially. We send it to an insurance company, and the insurance company guarantees an interest rate. So every payment to the recipient of a structure is principal plus interest. However, the interest is tax free. So for those that were making X amount of money, it's a wonderful way to replace income for someone who can't go back to work. It's
Sure.
guaranteed and it's tax free, a job you can't get fired from.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So that's a wonderful thing, right?
Yep.
But we have jobs with plaintiffs' personal injury lawyers because the unexpected happens to people every day. So someone who's a recipient of a structured settlement annuity payment can't wait for their next paycheck if suddenly there's a leak in their roof or their car doesn't start. So we all need a paycheck, but we all also need access to money for when the unexpected happens. So historically, we referred out the wealth management component of a comprehensive plan to insert big box bank, Merrill Lynch, Morgan Stanley, whatever.
Yep.
And as we indicated earlier, those banks see millions of dollars and get excited. They don't
Mhm.
recognize that a strategy needs to be substantially more conservative than maybe their other audience. And so we spun up Advocacy Wealth Management, which is our registered investment advisory firm. We're regulated by the SEC, and we have all kinds of different portfolios that are, unique and really dedicated to injury recipients based on, their threshold for risk and market activity. We also spun up Advocacy Trust, which is our trust company. We're regulated by trust, the trust agencies in various states. It's all state run. And same kind of thing. Big box banks who had trust, departments didn't really want to do special needs trust planning. Special needs trust is a trust that is designed to enable people who are receiving government benefits, such as Social Security income, as well as Medicaid. Those are asset and income tested means, which means that you can't have money in the bank and you can't make a certain amount of money. So a special needs trust is a wrapper that enables you, the recipient of those types of government benefits, to essentially have their cake and eat it too. They're paid out.
Interesting.
So
I'm learning so much right now. This is like an educational, uh, overwhelming educational
it is
experience
completely
right now.
overwhelming, and
Yeah,
it
this
took
is a
me a
lot.
second. Yeah, but they're really necessary planning tools because, as a trial lawyer, you work so hard to attain a recovery, but what happens if they lose the benefits? And,
Sure.
you know,
Yeah.
there's always a cost analysis that we run. If you have someone who needs, they've suffered such tragedy, they're now quad, for example, and
Mhm.
they need 24-hour caregiving, and their Medicaid provides X number of hours and their recovery is Y. And if we do the math and we run out of money, unfortunately, we have to stay on Medicaid because it's important to do so, because your money will last a lot longer if you can
Yeah.
continue to receive the caregiving that your benefit provides. So it's not a fun conversation, but it's a necessary one. Those are the sort of the three entities. And then the fourth entity of our company, we spun up very organically by supporting our law firms. And so our fourth entity is designed to assist with everything from lien resolution to attorney fee structure planning. There are unique financial products that contingent fee lawyers can use to essentially, kick your tax obligation into the future. And as other sort of ways of retirement planning. So, and that's our Forge Capital line. So they're
And
all
that
under
one
the,
is just for working with the attorneys.
you got it.
And I think that's really important too, because it is so risky being a contingency fee attorney. You could go years sometimes without even making any money, and you're just investing in your cases.
You
And
got
then
it.
all of a sudden you do have that big win for your client. But that's also, let's be real here, that's a big win for the attorney as well.
Absolutely.
And what do they do with that? And a lot of these attorneys, they're not financial experts,
Nope.
so that could be a shock to some of the attorneys as well. And that's where I think it's great that Ford spun up that, because they already built trust with you guys for helping the clients. And it's great to have that person they can also trust to help themselves.
Exactly, exactly. And you guys, and you seek out various associations that's going to give you exposure to the types of clients that you're looking for that would benefit from your products and services. Same kind of thing. We're at least a place to begin their search.
Yeah.
We may not have the answers, but hopefully, because of the network that we've developed either under our umbrella or our vendor buddies, at least we can point them hopefully in the right direction.
That's
Um,
why I love this podcast so much, because it's I wanted to do well, and it's kind of shifted a little bit on what the original idea was, but now we've been in last, I don't even know, almost all of them. I've had on a guest of someone I know in the industry.
right.
And, I don't necessarily have like referral agreements with all these people and all that kind of stuff. No, it's like I go to conventions, I hear we have a lot of mutual friends,
Yep.
and it's like, hey, they do a great job. They provide a great value to the same audience, a lot of the same clients. It's like, I
Exactly.
just want to grow this and get as much of the people that we know and trust, have a platform, have some dialogue, have some discussion, and hopefully they learn something along the way that they may not have known before. And I think that's really
Exactly.
important.
Exactly. And you know what? It's such a fast-paced industry at this point. As I said, I began my career with clients with a disc that you installed a product on.
That's
And now with all the AI products, I mean, oh my gosh, I mean, it's insane how in 20-ish years, um, things have changed. And it just goes to show how quickly we're moving forward. And it'd be interesting to see, if we listen to this podcast in a year or 2 years,
yeah.
how vastly different our landscape would look.
Yeah, it is
Well,
crazy. I had the CEO of Eve on here a few episodes ago, Jay Madeshwaran, crazy smart guy. And just seeing from when he was on talking about what they were working on releasing to today, even in just a
right.
few months, it's rapidly changing. I still
Crazy.
have floppy disks of Windows, like where you had a
Hmm.
series of like 8 floppies to install Windows on your computer. To then, when I'm thinking and looking at that to where we are today, it's mind blowing. It is really crazy. And what I was just listening to another really smart podcast, and there's a lot of stigma right now around AI, taking jobs and all
Yep.
that. And but in tech, a lot of them they're seeing it as they're hiring and they can't hire fast enough because
Right.
they want these people who understand the AI. And now we're coming out of, this graduating class
Yep.
or folks going into college. They can't be afraid of this. They need to really
Embrace it.
understand. And we're going to have the first generation of, young people that are AI first, like tech first.
Yep.
And it's really interesting because I feel like I am very far down the rabbit hole of all this. I eat, sleep, and breathe this, and I just turned 40, and I will have a conversation sometimes with a young person. And I'm like, man, you taught me something that I didn't even think about.
Right.
And I always felt like I was the one
Right.
teaching people stuff. And now
Same.
I am. It's really fascinating to be put in the role of like where my dad was when I was a
Right. Middle
nerd.
age.
Yeah, and I was like, "Hey, I need your credit card so I can open a PayPal account when I'm 15 so someone can send me money because I just designed some graphics for them." And my dad's mind is like, "You wanna take my credit card and put it on the internet? What are you
Right.
talking about?" And now it's like we just go and just tap everything.
I mean, I rarely bring a wallet at
So
all.
do I. I
At
never have
all.
cash. I get laughed at.
No, totally. By the way, you should take those floppy disks and you should make like a piece of art because it's gonna
I'm
be like
going to.
retro.
That's
It's gonna
been
be
on my
retro art.
it is. Yeah, I wanna frame them or do something.
Yeah.
I think it'd be
Like the
really
old school like boom boxes that were like in cool 80s or 90s, art.
those are making a resurgence.
I know, I
How
know.
crazy is that? I mean, that is just
Everything old comes back around. So hold on to those floppy disk drives.
Walkmans. Those things are become I see some kids walking up the
I
street with them
know.
and with the headphones. Like, remember the old headphones with the orange, like little orange, the soft
Yeah.
orange? Like they're using that stuff now. They're actually remaking them. It's mind blowing.
Well, and I saw last night, I saw with Meredith Burns from AAJ, we saw the
Love her.
TLC musical. Remember TLC? Like
Mhm.
No Scrubs and
Oh
Waterfall?
yeah. Oh yeah. Waterfalls. I remember being roller skating at rock and skate nights at the community center. And geez, that
Yep.
was probably like 1998 or something like that. And just don't go chasing waterfalls. I'll never forget it.
And but all the costumes and everything have they've like come back into style multiple times over the last however many
Crazy.
decades. I
Yeah,
was like,
it's
oh,
so
that was
cool.
cool. And now it's cool again. So it was pretty funny.
Very cool. All right, we're gonna stop talking shop here
Okay.
for a minute, and we're gonna switch gears a little and jump into our rapid fire round.
Okay.
Just a few fun questions so our audience can get to know you even a little more better. And hopefully, this will be a little fun.
Okay.
So, what's your favorite, red wine or white wine?
Well, my dog's name is Vino. So, I generally don't discriminate. I like red, I like white, I like pink, I like sparkling, which is why
Whatever's in the glass.
yes, it is in the glass. It depends on my mood and what I'm eating or drinking, but I love a Sauv Blanc, I love a Chardonnay, I love a Cab, I love a Barolo. I mean, Vino. I love Vino.
I love it. Do you have a favorite winery?
Well, we have been fortunate enough to have visited all kinds of different states in this country that are known to produce wine. We have also done wine in, or had visited wine regions in Uruguay, Italy, France, Africa. But I would probably say that our favorite, because of selfish reasons, we got married in a winery in Tuscany called Villa Montecani.
Beautiful.
So it may not be the best wine in the world, but it certainly is pretty special to us.
That's awesome. That is cool. Have you ever been to where I grew up in the Finger Lakes?
I have. We actually, one of Chris's very dear friends that he went to high school and college with, and they share the same birthday, got married up there and in
Sweet.
a winery. I can't recall the name of the winery, but it's like the you have the sweet wine, the ice wine.
Yeah, yeah. What was it? Hazlitt?
I don't remember.
Oh man, was it
Unfortunately,
Red Cat wine?
I don't remember. I'll have to ask Chris, but
Okay.
I do. It was a beautiful, beautiful property, but it was one of those like insane heat waves, and
Ah,
you all don't
yes.
have good AC up there.
Nope. Nope.
But
Nope. We rough it up there.
it's beautiful.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
can't say that's my favorite type of wine, but I will check the checkbox that I've been to that wine region in this country.
That's awesome. And their top wine in the region is White Zinfandel.
Yeah,
It is. Yeah.
but cold, and they have
Yeah.
frozen ones too, right?
Yep. Yep. Oh, man, a good wine slushy.
A wine slushy. So
That is
would that be your favorite wine?
no, actually, I think my favorite wine is probably, and I'm not a wine snob. I'm not a wine connoisseur. The only really good wine I've ever had is with like Tad or your husband Chris or some of
Yeah.
these other, you know, Bruce Plaxton, some folks who really, oh yeah, I'm buying some bottles for the table and on. But I think my favorite one was probably like Caymus Special Reserve or something like silly. It's like $900 a bottle, and it's just like tastes just insanely good. And then I'll go drink something else. I'm like, yeah, this isn't that good anymore to me.
That's the thing about wine, though. You can't judge wine by the dollar amount.
No, you can't.
It's like art,
Yeah,
you can look at a Picasso and be like, that's heinous.
yeah,
So that's what one of the things I love about wine, is that to each their own.
yep,
If someone likes it, that's great for them. It doesn't matter that something is $100 million. It may not be good for someone.
yeah.
So I love that about wine.
Me too.
Good question for me. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Do you know my
Actually,
dog's name was Vino?
Mariah on my team who you've met prepares
Uh-huh.
a lot of my stuff for me. So,
Oh, good. Well, thanks,
um,
Maria.
DC or Miami. And as you know, well, not everyone on here knows, you and your husband Chris, you kind of go back and forth between DC and Miami. And I know you like the palm tree, so I'm guessing I know the answer, but what's your favorite, DC or Miami?
Both. Both. When we first
Okay.
started dating, I was living in Miami, he was living in DC. And Miami, as you know, can be very, very, very hot in the summer. But what I've come to realize is so can DC. But
Yep.
anyway, I would come up for a month and I'd go back down to Miami. And I'm like, wow, it's still really unbearable in Miami. I'd go up for 2 months. And so we started working it out. So I'm kind of a full-fledged snowbird. I go back down to Miami in November and I come up to DC, early, late spring, early summer.
Nice.
Um, and while DC is not necessarily amazing in July and August, it's pretty darn hot and humid. September and October are lovely. It's a
Oh,
proper fall, which Miami
gorgeous.
doesn't know what fall is. But truly, I say both. Everything in life has a strength and a weakness, right? And an ideal financial plan, a total comprehensive plan, is to utilize multiple products where strengths and weaknesses, you know, create a solid plan, right?
We
And so
just went full circle right here.
exactly.
I
So
love this.
DC is smart and it's beautiful and there's museums and there's the government and there's people doing really interesting things. And Miami is really beautiful. It's got beaches and palm trees and stunning sunsets. So they really complement one another nicely from my perspective.
I agree. I do love both.
Yeah,
It's the thing with every state in this country and every place in the world. I mean, there's beauty everywhere,
everywhere.
you know. Even, I hate these wildfires we're having right now. Like the
Oh my
smoke
gosh.
is unbearable outside right now. And it's crazy. I'm in Williamsport, Pennsylvania, but still it's like I'm driving. Williamsport is in a valley. So you look around and there's, mountains kind of everywhere. And I'm driving down and I'm looking up and there's the mountains and it looks so crazy with the orange haze of the smoke. But also I'm looking at it, I'm like, that is pretty freaking cool looking.
It's
You know,
crazy.
it is
Same thing
crazy.
here. I'll send you a picture. I'll text you a picture when we hang up. I was walking my pup this morning, and we walked past the Capitol and you can barely see the Capitol. It's all
Wow.
smoky here. But to
Wow.
your point, it's a big, beautiful country and
Yep.
there is so much to see. We actually played a game, Chris and I. He turned 50 in May and we did 50 under 50. We tried to get to all states under 50 and we made it.
That's awesome. That is
So
very cool.
there are some I don't need to necessarily go back to, but it is a big, beautiful country.
It is. Well, so you travel all the time. What's one thing you will never travel without?
Hmm. That's a good
Like, do you take
question.
a sound machine? Do you take, I can't sleep without a sound machine, so I always have a sound machine. Um,
Oh, I do. I do too. I have that. I have sleep AirPods. I have masks. Um, I think a really good Dob kit. My Dob kit is always packed with
nice,
everything under the sun.
nice.
So that would be my answer. A good Dob kit because you never know where you're going to be and what you're going to need and what your body's going to need.
Do you
So a
always have
really
it just ready to go? Just
always. In
yeah.
fact, I am, gearing up. I'm assuming I'm going to see you in Chicago
Yep,
next week.
yep.
In fact, that is on my to-do list this weekend is to refill, baby. Got to refill
Nice,
that thing
nice.
because it's after April, May. All of the sort of spring seminars. It's in need of a refill.
I need to do, I'm one where I usually just the night before refill it up with whatever I need, but I made this mistake because when I went to the injury board, Pathfinder, lovely event.
It was really
I got
nice.
there and I just drove like 6 hours to get there. And then I looked and I'm like, oh my gosh, I forgot like seven things. So now it's like I want to have one dedicated Dob kit,
Yep.
like ready to go. Don't have to ever worry about it. It's got it.
You need to walk down every aisle of a drugstore and just kind of grab it all because
Just
you
grab
never
it all.
know.
Yep.
And now we have to worry about things that we didn't have to ever even consider, like eating bad lettuce.
Oh boy, I'm getting Taco Bell for lunch just thinking
you
about this lettuce. What's up?
you're gonna probably look very thin if I see when I see you next week.
I hope.
I
I'm
know, right?
planning. I'm doing the purge. Oh, all right. I won't take too much more of your time. I got one more for you.
Okay.
What is your ideal way to spend a free Saturday?
My ideal way to spend a free Saturday would be to sleep in a little bit. I'm a total early bird. So during the week, I'm, a 6 a.m. up and at 'em workout kind of person. So I would sleep in. I would work out, closer to 9 instead of 6.
Okay.
And have a lazy Saturday. Go to a fun brunch lunch afterwards. Maybe hit up the pool if I'm in Miami,
Hmm.
um, and just kind of have a relaxed day. Errands, but probably trying to see friends that I
No
don't
stressful
necessarily.
errands. Like we're not going to the grocery store or anything.
No, 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 no. Maybe nails.
Oh, nice. Nice. I like it. I like it.
I,
Actually, I do have one last one for you.
okay, one last one.
What's the best piece of advice you ever received?
Um, Try it all. Throw spaghetti against a wall. See what you like. It's, a lot of times when you're young, you have these like kind of preconceived notions like I should be doing this or I should be doing that. Try it all. One of the other things that I learned very early on in this career was started traveling and it's like, well, I don't eat that. I won't go to that restaurant. Try
Yeah,
it all. Try it all. See what you like
love
and what
that.
you don't like. And by the way, your likes now might be different than your likes in the future. So
Love that.
keep yourself open to the opportunities that come your way and say yes.
I love that. Thank you so much.
Thank you so
Great
much.
conversation. I hope it was painless as it could be.
I thought it was really fun. I appreciate the opportunity to tell my story and allow you guys, listener, audience, to hear a little bit about who we are and what we do.
So if
And
our audience wants to learn more about Forge Consulting or connect with you, where should they go?
they're welcome to go to our website, or they're welcome to contact me directly, twagner@forgeconsulting.com.
Beautiful. We'll put that in the show notes.
I'd love to hear from all of you. I'm happy to help in any way, or hopefully point you in the right direction. Help you to pick a wine off of a menu at a restaurant.
Oh, I love that. That is great. And speaking of helping in putting in the right direction, I think that is some of the best advice that I have ever received and learned. I love the throw the spaghetti, try everything, and I've totally embraced that over these years, especially with
Yeah.
dad. When I grew up, it was like I grew up pretty not wealthy or anything, and my favorite restaurant was like Red Lobster, right? Or Long John Silver's, which is crazy. And then when I got to meet Tad, start going to these nice restaurants and entertaining clients, I would never eat anything outside of my comfort zone.
Yep.
All of a sudden, I started doing more, and now I eat steak tartare and all these different crazy things. And I'm like,
Exactly.
I crave it now.
Exactly.
It's awesome. It's
You
awesome.
can eat steak tartare and Taco Bell, and that is a nice, well-rounded person.
I love that. I love
Same.
that.
I was the same way. I didn't eat red meat. I was like, I don't eat that. I don't eat that. And now I'm like, you know what? Try it all.
Let's try it. I love that. On that note, thank you so much.
Thank you
I
so
will see
much.
you next week in
Yeah, see you next
Chicago.
week. Happy Friday. Enjoy your weekend.
Thank
And
you.
thank you. All
Happy Friday. Be well, Tracee.
right. Take care.
Bye. What a wonderful conversation with Tracee. Tracee, I'd like to thank you a lot for being part of episode number 15. There was I learned so much, and I'm sure there's so much more I could learn. I think anyone listening to this, take her up on going to get a glass of wine at convention, or just hop on Zoom and have a coffee. Even if you don't need their resources and offering services today, I mean, have the conversation so that way when the time comes where you need them and you know what you need, you're going to be educated and be able to have that discussion and make things a little more seamless for you and your client. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Behind the GAVL, legal marketing podcast serving law firms across the country. I hope you learned something today. Please like and subscribe. Do anything you can. Share, email us, ask questions, send us suggestions for guests. We want to keep this thing going. We just hit episode 15. The ship is moving. The train is on the tracks. We're not slowing down. We're going to keep this going. And I want to keep bringing everybody some great content. Couldn't do it, obviously, without my team, Oscar, Mariah, Catherine, just everyone who helps make this ship work. I appreciate all of you. And I'll see you next time.